We're just 5 weeks away from opening night, and the pursuit of ring number 5 will be underway for two of the league's all-time greats, Steph Curry and, of course, LeBron James. And we really got to savor watching these guys while they are still doing it, my friends. But I got a piece of trivia for you. Do you happen to know how many players have won 5 rings? Do you? 26. 26 players have enough jewelry to deck out an entire hand. And look at this, even fewer have that and multiple MVPs. We're talking about Russell, we're talking about Kareem, Magic Johnson, of course, Michael Jordan, and Tim Duncan. That's it. That's the list. And the thing is, odds makers, they don't exactly see a 5th ring in the cards here for either of these future Hall of Famers, at least not this year. The Lakers and the Warriors, they have the 9th and 11th best odds to win the title, respectively. All right, so with that as a backdrop, look who's here. We got a couple of NBA champs in the house. Kendrick Perkins, he's beaming in from home. Richard Jefferson with us in studio. Shanae Agumake, Tim Bontemps here with me to help put up with these two brave their antics.
Yes.
Richard, you played, should we say it, a major role in one of LeBron James's 4 championships?
Key role. Should we say
a key role? And now we're going to stop showering Richard with compliments. What needs to happen for LeBron to win a 5th?
Well, again, this is a fun topic because we're in. Are we still in September?
We are. Yes.
We're in September. This is September topic time. So let me just say this. Realistically, we put way too much pressure on LeBron, the Lakers, and all this stuff because they are the Lakers. But to ask that question, in 2001, I came into the NBA, and so did Michael Jordan. So to ask Michael Jordan what they would need with the Wizards to win another championship, this is similar. Yes, Michael Jordan didn't have Anthony Davis, but ultimately you look at an incomplete team, an incomplete roster from the standpoint is they don't have enough dogs, and Perk is probably going to get in this. But I will say this. You look at the defending champions, the Boston Celtics. The Lakers are 3 all-star players away, caliber players away from being on their level. 3 all-star caliber players. That's how far the Lakers are away from being on the same tier as the defending champions. And the defending champions.
So are you saying the Celtics have 5?
All-star caliber players.
Yeah.
2
and
of
the
them won
Lakers
the
only
Olympics.
have 2. I'm just breaking it down to make sense.
You talk about Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Porzingis, all-star caliber.
White.
Then you talk about White, all-star caliber. All-star caliber. Right. 2 of those guys run the Olympic team. So what does it need to happen? Something miraculous that we don't know about. Jesus Christ could come down and play shooting guard for them.
Spalding and Wilson coming in.
I don't know what could happen, but I wish them the best. We'll be watching the whole story.
No, RJ, you're so wrong, bro. Like, they're not that far off. They're not that far off. Like, they don't need to be calling on Jesus Christ, right? Like, think about this for a second. Answer this question. How many teams in the Western Conference, if the Lakers were to match up with them in a 7-game series, would you pick the other side?
How many teams would you pick, Richard, to match up the Lakers in the Western Conference?
Well, this is the thing. I would say that we're talking about winning a title. We're not talking about going to the conference finals. They are good enough to upset a team, to get a good matchup.
Right, but how many? So if you said how many teams are you picking the Lakers in a series?
In a series, I think there's probably 3 teams that I wouldn't pick them over.
Okay.
I wouldn't pick Lakers over about 3 teams. It would be the Denver Nuggets. I would probably say OKC and then probably Minnesota Timberwolves. Those would be the 3 teams that I would say that the Lakers going in, because ultimately we know your next tier of guys are the ones that really win you championships. The next tier of players. Your stars have to be dominant, but you're going to look at every series and say, this guy helped them win this game. This guy helped them win the game. And you got to do that for 4 series.
Yeah, but RJ, it's not that far off. I believe that they're one other all-star, superstar caliber player away, right? We saw this offseason, everybody pretty much, especially when you look in the Eastern Conference, they got better with the Knicks picking up Mikal Bridges, right? Philly getting Paul George. The people who are really trying to make noise, they went out and quote-unquote got a 3rd star. And so when I think about the Lakers, and I said this last year, Richard, you felt the exact same way. If the Lakers had DeJounte Murray last year, do you think they would have had a better chance of beating the Denver Nuggets or possibly beat the Denver Nuggets in that series?
Oh, 100%. You would have had a person to answer Jamal Murray hitting all those game winners. But you can't buy a player that's not for sale.
Who said he wasn't for sale?
Rob Pelinka said it at the trade deadline.
Yeah, but I'm saying because he didn't want to give up Austin Reeves, but we're talking about if you want to maximize LeBron James because he has so much in the tank right now, then you probably should go out there and make a move to get a player of that caliber to come in.
Let me bring a little sanity in here. Perk, you're right, because Richard, you're saying they need 3 players. Perk, you're saying they need 1. I think they need 2. They need star production. They need star production from their role players. Perk, the best thing that you have ever said on this network is that you need to have role players that are stars in their roles. That's what you embody. That's what got you here. That's what made you great. That's what makes championship teams great. When I crunch the numbers, you look at D'Lo, he's only averaged 14 points per game the last 3 years in the postseason, shooting around 38%.
Ew.
When I look at Austin Reeves, he's had pretty decent numbers, 17 points per game. But the thing is, we haven't seen the consistency when it mattered most. You need those guys to be stars in their roles when it matters most. Those are the 2, because their issues are shooting, their issues are scoring, their issues are playmaking. They look at Reeves as a playmaker off the ball, one-on-one in the dribbling, getting to the rim.
Reeves wouldn't start for the Celtics.
That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't matter. But look, we're gone from the day. Like, the Celtics are loaded, and they're gonna have to pay the cost of that. Literally, how long can they keep this score? The way that the NBA is moving is that based off of what was it, like the second apron, like we need Woj, we got Tim here. The way that the NBA is moving is you need 3 really core guys. You can hopefully pay for 2, but it's a luxury to have 3. Look at what Philly is doing. Look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. You need 3. If you don't have 3, then you need to at least have guys that sort of spread the wealth amongst that. That is their role players, and their role players have not been consistent enough, nor have they matched the skill set necessary shooting from 3 to be able to give them consistency over the course of 82 games and then some.
We're ultimately talking about a team that had their 2 star players play a combined 147 games last year and was in the play-in tournament. This is not a team that's good enough to win a championship. You just said they have issues with scoring, shooting, and playmaking. And you were correct, by the way. You were completely correct. We are talking about this because of the Los Angeles Lakers, because they have LeBron James on the team. Right. They are not anywhere near good enough to win a championship, and there's not a path to them getting there.
Wait, the only thing I push back on is, would our narrative right now be different if they drew anyone other than the Nuggets?
Yes.
Would we be believing in them?
No.
I know that they needed to bolster their team, tweak, and that's on them for not making any wholesale changes.
Right.
I know they have some picks where they can have some flexibility, but I feel like if they made it to the second round, if they did not draw the Nuggets and had some success, we might be feeling a little bit better on the Lakers than we were now.
When you win a championship, you beat everybody. So we can't just say the team, and look, the Nuggets didn't go to the conference finals
They lost
last year.
in the second round.
So it's like, and the Lakers
lost key players.
And they lost key players. I mean, again, the Lakers are a fine team.
Very good.
We're talking about, can they win a championship?
Sure.
Like, there's no qualitative reason to think that other than
I agree.
Why are you looking at me like that?
And Richard started this segment by putting out the question. It's like asking, what did Michael Jordan need with the Wizards? Well, one thing that LeBron James has is the way that he is playing about to turn 40 years old is unprecedented, and it makes us believe and think in the way that he talks and the way that he wills the most out of his body, makes us believe that he could do literally anything.
I'm not betting against him. I would never bet against him. But basketball knowledge tells us that this team is 3 players away from being 3 players away.
The truth is, it's really disappointing that the Lakers have a team with 2 All-NBA caliber players in LeBron and AD, and they're nowhere near winning a title. That is a failure in the way they've built the team, and it's a failure on the way they've run the team the last several years. Well, you look at how those guys played this summer with Team USA, they're good enough to be factors on a team that's competing for a championship. The reason they're not is not because of LeBron. It's not because of Anthony Davis. It's because of, as Janae said, the lack of talent around them, the fact they have issues with scoring, shooting, playmaking, every other part of their team.
Right, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but also when you look at the health of Anthony Davis and LeBron James last season, when they were largely healthy and playing at an unbelievable level, to think that they can then improve on that again.
It's more likely they miss the play-in than they make the top 6.
Okay, I ain't say all that now.
It is. That's the truth. Again, because of health, to your point.
Well, that's your opinion. This is the fact. You did release a story this morning on ESPN.com talking about the NBA's plans for expansion. And anytime we're talking about LeBron James, we know that one eye at this point is also on maybe ownership in the future and expansion here. Do you see it as realistic that he owns a team? And do you see that maybe as more realistic than winning a 5th ring?
It's definitely more realistic that LeBron James is an owner of a team than he wins another title. Because, again, we've seen Bronny James is now playing with him, his son, in L.A. He's clearly boxed into being with the Lakers now going forward. It's hard to see a path to them being good enough to win the title. You got
Does a
something to add?
fifth ring count if he does it as an owner? Because I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
I'm going to say
That's
yes.
a win-win.
MJ didn't
the
do
GOAT
it.
debate. I can already hear the
They get you get rings either way.
saying that
You know what I'm saying?
If you want to say
that didn't
both,
happen for Charlotte.
It didn't happen for Charlotte for sure. So he's got a chance to outpace Michael as an owner. But yes, I think
That's
there's a
not
chance.
Oh my gosh.
I think there's
Wow.
a chance that LeBron is the owner of the team in Las Vegas. There are a lot of hurdles to that happening. That team is going to cost potentially $6 billion. Wow. That's a lot of money.
Maybe get the Tom Brady deal.
Maybe get the Tom Brady deal, but Tom Brady is also not running the Raiders, right? And LeBron wants to run the team. So there's a lot of things that have to happen, but certainly we're going to see over the next 2 or 3 years this expansion talk really ramp up.
Right.
LeBron's going to be right in the middle of it.
Well, LeBron James going for ring number 5 in just 5 weeks.
He's going to get it either way.
Speaking of 5, there you go. We are 5 days away, Chene, from the WNBA playoffs. Ooh. There are massive seeding implications in play tonight. So let's just go a little coast to coast here. And we're going to start, friends, with the New York Liberty. They have a chance to clinch the top overall seed with a win over the Mystics tonight. So, Chene, would home court advantage give New York the inside track to win it all?
You know, they are trying to make sure they do everything necessary to bring a championship to New York, to Brooklyn, to this franchise. But the crazy thing is, I'm looking at the Minnesota Lynx. They sort of have had their number no matter where they play.
Yep.
On top of it, Las Vegas, they're heating up at the right time, too. But right now, New York Liberty, they are absolutely the favorites going into the postseason.
Well, and Nafisa Collier told us just last week, hey, we're coming. All right, next up, the 2 seeds still up for grabs. Tonight's game between the Lynx and the Sun can make that final day of the season much more interesting, right? So, Chene, what team do you think is more of a threat to make the W final?
No shade to my former team and one of my favorite players, Alyssa Thomas, who I had the pleasure of playing with for a couple of years. But right now, I'm looking at the Lynx. They are dark horses. They are, like you said, Nafisa has been great. They have a good system, and they know who they are.
All right, stick with me here, sis, because we have a 3-way tie for the final playoff spot. Right?
Crazy.
The stakes couldn't be higher. In Atlanta, the Sky, the Dream. We know there's no Angel Reese, but what does it mean that there's no chance for Chicago this postseason?
Look, I think it's difficult. All of these teams are trying to position themselves for the future, but I'm really intrigued by the Chicago Sky because even though there's no Angel Reese, seeing the growth of Camila Cardoso and just the steps that they've taken to, move forward as an organization, I think you got to keep an eye on them for the foreseeable future.
All right, we saved the sis for last, right? Another huge matchup, Seattle, Aces, Storm. Las Vegas is going to look to lock up a home.
Oh, gosh,
Does
I'm stressed.
anything even matter for the back-to-back champs?
I don't think so because both teams just right now are trying to focus on playing their best basketball heading into the postseason. Hey, sis, I see you with a mini. Was that the one that made her number 10 all-time in WNBA history? Look, I don't think home court matters because they have veterans on both sides. It's going to be a great matchup if this is what we see 4 versus 5.
Well, but this is why home court advantage could be important because the Aces, right, Chene, they're 11-1 at home.
Don't show my family
the
this.
last 2 postseasons under Becky Hammond, and that's the best home playoff win percentage in WNBA history, by the way, a minimum of 5 games coached.
Maybe NBA history.
Only lost 8.
Pretty hard to be better than 11.
Right, that was all the way back to the 2022 W.
I'm going to
Finals.
erase that from my brain for a second.
Yeah, it's all right, Chene. We can just here, Tarsi, you put it for your $212 million max deal that was back in July. Big money comes big pressure, big expectations to win. The Sixers, remember, they haven't made it out of the second round since 2001, and as training camp approaches, Draymond Green, he wanted to wish PG good luck this season.
Did he?
Good luck, Paul George. Ooh. He better play well. They're going to crush Paul George if he don't play well.
But he's the 3 there now. That's perfect for him.
You know why they're going to crush Paul George if he don't play well? Because they already got a nasty taste in their mouth from their last 3 that they had.
With Harden and Joel.
No, with Tobias Harris.
Here's the thing. I married into a Philly family. Philly fans are passionate. That's how we're going to put it. Philly fans are passionate. So Draymond Green, he might have a little bit of a point there. The Sixers, they have a trio, though. They have all-stars in Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and now Paul George. So, Perk, how much pressure do you think is actually on PG to be the one to make this all work?
Well, look, Joel Embiid is under the most pressure for as anybody in the NBA to get it done this year at a high level when it matters the most. And you know who is second or third on that list? It's Paul George. And I don't want to hear about, he done been to conference finals and he done made his mark in the postseason and all that. No, it's about him getting to the promised land. And think about Paul George's journey. Okay, leaving Indiana, going to the Oklahoma City Thunder, where, him and Russell Westbrook had a great thing going down there, well, a good thing going. They had a future in front of them, then forcing himself out of OKC to the Clippers to team up with Kawhi Leonard, underachieving every single season, whether that was because of them, injuries or whatever the case may be, they still never got past expectations to leaving the Clippers, and now pairing up with Joel Embiid, a former MVP, Tyrese Maxey, a young superstar on the rise. He's for sure top 3 in the league when it comes down to guys under pressure.
Okay, a little story time. Stay with me here. So I was 8 years old when I left Los Angeles, California, and my mom was from Philadelphia. We took a Greyhound bus all the way to Philadelphia. She reconnected with my stepdad. They were married for 35 years. So I have Philly experience, small bit. Mom and stepdad both from Philadelphia. Every Philly fan is under pressure because they hate their team. And I say hate their team because they're like happy, they're unhappy. It doesn't matter if it's the Eagles. It doesn't matter if it's the 76ers. And I'm sorry, Eagles fans, last night was a rough one, so I hate to give you this stuff. So my point that I'm trying to say is that's just Philly. For Draymond to be over the top and be like, oh, they're going to hit. Boston fans are the same. Knicks fans are the same. If you haven't been to a conference finals since before I was in the NBA.
I thought it was 2001. Right?
Okay. And I came. Last year they were in 01. That's when I went to conference finals. I came in 01 and 02.
I was just making sure.
So I'm 44 years old. What are the Philly fans going to see that they haven't seen for the last 25 years? What are they going to see? So what I'm saying is like the expectations on Philly is to get to a conference finals. We would be stoked because they haven't done it. That's not pressure. I still stand by the team with the most pressure is the Boston Celtics. They have a loaded roster. They are primarily healthy outside of Porzingis, who will join them, which is probably good that you only need him for half a season. But they have a loaded roster. They have an over-the-top cap space, and they can't do anything. So the pressure is on the team that is expected to win, not the team that is expected to do better than the year before.
But
that's just it.
Some of the pressure comes off. Perk, what do you say?
Oh, God.
I don't care.
Pressure, I feel like, Perk, I'm right here with you. I feel like there's more pressure when you are a team that has not yet won a championship and your team was designed to trust the process versus the Celtics who finally delivered a championship. Their guys are coming back feeling good. Their team is probably going to be pretty decent. Like, they feel like they can do it.
The
pressure is on
since
Philly.
08.
Yeah, but guess what? Now we're looking at the Sixers like, are you going to complete the mission this year? Because you guys, it was a high risk, high reward move getting Paul George. Perk said something. Most pressure on anybody. Did he say it was Joel Embiid or Paul?
Joel Embiid and then PG's top 3.
There's a case for that to be true because if there's going to be pressure on other guys in the NBA, maybe Luka Doncic based off of how they fizzled out. But do we think that his team is better than what the guys in Philly have assembled from a big 3 core? No. Think about Dame and Giannis. Do we really trust in that core more than what Philly has assembled? Probably not. So overall, I think the pressure is on Philly to deliver. They've asked these fans to be patient, and now they have the perfect
be patient
team.
for 25 years. For
now
25
now they
years,
have the
another
team
couple.
that can do it, and you're going to say, oh, there's no pressure on them.
There is no pressure.
No one knows these two teams better than Tim Bontemps, who has spent extensive time in both Boston and Philadelphia. You talked to Joel Embiid, right, just a couple of months ago exclusively about how he thinks his partnership with PG is going to go and his expectations for the season. How's he processing all of that?
I mean, Joel has been very vocal saying, all I have left to do is win a title. I've done everything else. I won MVP. I've won all these awards. That's fine. I actually think that where the Celtics thing comes in is I think the Sixers right now are where the Celtics were a year ago, where all we were talking about a year ago is, are the Celtics ever going to get over the top?
Yep.
What happens with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? Can they win together? What are they going to do with this team? How are they going to get over the top and finally win? And then they did, right?
Yeah.
So now they come back. Yeah, maybe they win another one this year, but they got over the hump. The Sixers are sitting there, haven't done this in all this time. Oh, get out of here. And now you're sitting
He was
here
bothering Malika.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's Tuesday.
What else is going on? And so the Sixers now are sitting there in the same boat where all they can do is win, and if they do anything less than that, it's going to be a failure.
Boston had how many conference finals and how many finals appearances?
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like the gap between them and Boston.
But the window is shrinking for them to be able to do it.
Also around Joel Embiid, which he, in talking to him, he is totally okay with, is, okay, we gave you James Harden and that didn't work.
Right.
Ben Simmons and that didn't work. If Paul George also doesn't work, he's going to be the first person to say, I want the smoke, but that conversation is going to happen. All right, Arnett helping to remind us we're just 5 weeks away from opening night. Now with our reporter who covers the Eastern Conference and Celtics for us, Tim Bontemps. The Celtics, they are looking to repeat here for the first time since 1969. Tim, what is the biggest thing that is standing in their way here?
Health. We saw the Celtics be basically healthy all last year, Malika, except for Kristaps Porzingis, who missed time during the NBA playoffs, memorably came back for the beginning of the NBA Finals, then suffered that rare tendon injury in his ankle. He had surgery after the year. He's going to be out until early in the part of 2025. We're talking probably into January before he's going to play. We'll see how the Celtics can handle that. We'll see how the rest of their team can stay on the court. Last year, their 4 core perimeter players, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jrue Holiday, none of them missed any time. They were basically available all year. If they start to miss any games, you get into that depth, we'll see where the Celtics land. Because remember, yes, they made it through the playoffs, had home court advantage, won the title. They also played against a bunch of teams that had injuries, right?
Yep.
We saw injuries play a big part in the way their whole thing went. So health's obviously a big factor for everybody. Richard talked before about how deep the Celtics are. We'll see if their health can carry through this year.
Yeah, that depth may be put to the test, particularly when you remember that 3 of those guys that you just mentioned were on the U.S. Olympic team, playing varying degrees of minutes there. So that's something that they are going to need to monitor. Tim, thank you so very much. The Celtics, though, want to be the first team to repeat since 2017. They're going to need to channel some KG energy, right? That anything is possible.
Oh, yeah.
So let's play a game.
What's the game?
I love a game, right? Let's do this. I'm going to give you guys a topic, and you're going to tell me whether it's possible or impossible. Impossible.
Impossible.
Things are happening every night.
Listen, with Ozempic, anything is possible.
Oh, Lord.
Wait.
All right. Richard.
Wait.
Richard's in timeout, and we're going to take a look at the top 5 teams who have the best title odds here, right? The Celtics are the favorites to repeat at plus 325, and then you see the Thunder, the Sixers, the Nuggets, the Knicks all filing into that top 5. So, Perk, I'm going to start with you here. Anything's possible, right? Who outside of the top 5 could win a title this year?
The fact that the Dallas Mavericks is not in that top 5 is crazy to me, but I'm going with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, and Big Rudy Gobert. Bringing back their entire starting 5 and a killer what they have coming in off the bench in Naz Reid. They had a nice playoff run going to the Western Conference Finals. They're going to continue to grow because of the experience. Anthony Edwards is going to be on another level this season. This team is going to come back better. I could see them outside of that top 5, a team that could possibly win the championship.
No, Perk brings up some good points, and that's a rare thing for me to say. It's because I've been gone so long. But when we talk about the Timberwolves, I still think that the start of their series in that conference final, they had a hangover from that 7-game series. That was crazy. Winning those 2 on the road, losing those 2 at home, the back and forth. You know this, Perk. This is an emotional roller coaster that you go on. And it could end in 1 hour, and you got to start the journey again in 36 hours. So people don't understand the toll that takes trying to get through that. So they will be better this next year. In my opinion, they will be better. They'll be more experienced. They understand those things. So I think 100% this is possible.
Yeah, Malika, you started this segment talking about the Boston Celtics, and if we go back to 2022, the big issue that they had was running out of gas and trying to figure out what they had. I feel like the same thing has happened this past year for the Minnesota Timberwolves. When we saw Anthony Edwards going up against the Dallas Mavericks, he just wasn't himself. He realized he was learning on the fly, like, wow, it takes a lot out of my system to be able to compete on both ends, be that dog, pun intended, play defense, and also deliver and play your best basketball on offense when it mattered most. And that was an adjustment. That's a learning experience for him, but also for his squad to be able to figure out how to find ways to win when your leader is maybe struggling in some key moments. So I think a lot about the Celtics in their growing moments, and that sort of parallels a lot to this Timberwolves squad.
So you're saying it's possible?
100%
It's possible. All right, we're going to move on here. Did you guys know this? I got a little bit of fun fact for you. 4 of the last 5 years, a team that has missed the playoffs the year prior has made the NBA Finals. You're looking at the Lakers, the Suns, the Warriors, and the Mavs. Shanae, if you're looking at this pattern, is there a 2023-2024 team that was in the lottery that you think it's possible that they could make the finals?
I actually have 2 teams, but I'm going to start with one.
Get extra credit.
I am really intrigued by the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant is going to be back. We know where they were. I think Steven Adams was a key part of that machine that was allowing them to, as that veteran presence to make sure they're good over 82 games. But Ja, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, who probably has a chip on his shoulder watching his bros get a chip. We could see another spectacular run by Ja Morant. We know what they can do. They play fast. He's one of the best, even though at his small size, considering 6'2" or so, scoring in the paint. They score in transition. They play defense. They have a defensive player of the year candidate in JJJ. To me, they're a team that can make a run. But also, I don't know why. This is probably a weird thing.
Most likely.
It is probably. The Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings, we've seen them have their highs, we've seen them have their lows last year, but now they got DeMar DeRozan. Will that put them over the edge to actually compete, stay afloat, and then maybe make a run? Because that's what they're betting on. A lot of people were looking at DeMar like, hey, this is a guy that can help us as a 1A, a 1B, a 2-level type of player. They got him. And now they have a good core, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Add him in the mix, you never know.
I like Sacramento a lot, but Memphis, to your point, that we were talking about them 2 seasons ago the same way we talk about the OKC Thunder right now.
Absolutely.
So they were trending in that direction.
Yeah.
People had them picked to go to the finals. People had this team as like the hottest team over the next 3 or 4 years. Then obviously they had some injury. They had some off the court stuff. But to your point, they have Jaren Jackson Jr., who's won Defensive Player of the Year. You have a defensive stopper in Marcus Smart.
Yep.
You have an elite 3-point shooter in Desmond Bane. And so to me, you're getting guys back. Brandon Clark, they're going to get back coming off an Achilles.
True.
So they have a ton of talent.
Yep.
So if you told me that this team popped up in the conference finals, if you told me that that's not a surprise. That's doing what they were expected to do. So that's not exactly a pat on the back.
Well, not to mention John Morant is going to be playing with a major chip on his shoulder.
He's resting.
Wanting to prove
he's
to
resting.
everybody, I am still that same guy that you remember from 2 years ago, that same player that you remember. All right, I got one more for you. Let's just take a look here at the top 5 odds for MVP. This is all according to ESPN Bet. You got Luka Doncic as the favorite, and then the reigning MVP of Nikola Jokic coming up behind him, Giannis, SGA, Embiid. Some more MVPs in that mix, round out the top 5. Richard, do you think it is possible or impossible that someone outside, what are you doing?
No, I'm ready to go.
Okay, do you think it's possible that someone out of the top 5 wins MVP?
I think it's 100% possible, but this is the thing that I would say, right?
Because it's not 100% if this is the thing. You're giving a caveat.
It's possible because we know what? I kid you not. If Wemby puts up some crazy historic numbers, but this is the thing and where I think it's harder for players like a Shea to win MVP. When you look at the last few MVPs, whether it's Joel Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic, these guys were putting up 25 points,
rebounds.
13, 14 rebounds, 8, 9 assists. Same with Luka. We look at Luka as a triple-double threat with Jokic, two-way player in Antetokounmpo, and then Joel Embiid, we know about his dominance. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a traditional guard. He's going to give you 30 points, maybe 2 steals, 4 assists, and 5 rebounds. Those are amazing numbers, but the evolution of the bigs, it means that you're going to get 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 or 9 assists.
Yeah.
That's hard when you start looking at just statistics. So that's why I think Shea, if they can get up to that number 1 seed, if they can have a 5-game lead on everyone, that's the only way I think for a smaller guard like him, like a Devin Booker, like a John Morant. They've got to have because the stats aren't going to be there when you compare them to their other constituents. It's just not true.
All right, Perk, last word on this.
2 words, Anthony Edwards.
And there you have it.
Hello, the Los Angeles Lakers are at the center of speculation surrounding a potential high-impact trade that could bring star Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat to Los Angeles. Such a move could drastically alter the NBA landscape, creating a formidable combination between Butler and LeBron James. For the Miami Heat, the window of opportunity to capitalize on Jimmy Butler's prime is closing. Although Butler was the central pillar in 2 NBA Finals appearances during his time in South Beach, the team failed to convert those opportunities into titles, falling short in the final stretch. With Butler now 34, the 2024-2025 season could mark his last chance to bring the Florida franchise a coveted title. The Los Angeles Lakers, meanwhile, face a similar situation with LeBron James, who will turn 40 by the end of the year. The current roster, while competitive, is not widely seen as a clear title contender, which puts pressure on the team to make strategic adjustments that could improve its chances. Time is also running out for LeBron, who may be in his final seasons before the end of his brilliant career. The potential arrival of Butler could offer a solution for the Lakers, creating a lethal duo and increasing their chances of competing for a title in the near future. Andy Bailey of Bleacher Report suggested an intriguing trade in the article Jimmy Butler Trade Packages, Ideas for Lakers, Warriors, and More. According to the proposal, the Lakers would receive Jimmy Butler and Josh Richardson, while the Miami Heat would be rewarded with D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, as well as 2 future first-round picks, one for 2029 and one for 2031. This proposed trade aims to not only strengthen the Lakers, but also give the Heat a new base of young talent to plan for the future. Bailey elaborated further on the trade, explaining that the Miami Heat could try to add Austin Reeves in place of Gabe Vincent, something the Lakers could potentially accept or even counter by adjusting the draft picks involved. Regardless of how this trade plays out, it would provide the Heat with some valuable draft assets, Bailey wrote. By 2029, LeBron and Butler will likely be retired, while Anthony Davis, if he's still in LA, will be past his prime. This could turn the Lakers' first-round picks into high-value, potentially top-5 selections in the league. For the Heat, adding young players like Rui Hachimura and D'Angelo Russell to a promising core that includes Tyler Herro, Jamie Jaquez, and Nikola Jovic could represent an opportunity for the franchise to renew its roster. Additionally, the combination of experience and youth could help the team remain competitive in the long run should Butler move on to another team. The success or failure of a Butler trade would largely depend on the Miami Heat's mindset and ambitions. The team is at a crossroads. Should they focus on winning now or plan to rebuild for the future? The Heat's behavior during the offseason has been puzzling. While they have made some additions and adjustments, they have not made any major moves that would suggest an all-out commitment to winning the title right away. Furthermore, the team finds itself in an ambiguous situation, not being among the favorites for the title, but also not being a bad enough team to consider tanking, a strategy in which teams purposefully underperform in order to increase their chances of obtaining good draft picks. It is important to remember that the Heat's elimination in the first round of the playoffs last season left many fans and analysts wondering if the team had reached its limit. However, the reality may be more complex. The Miami Heat still have a solid roster, and injuries have been a significant factor in the team's inconsistent performance. Statistically, the Heat faced one of the worst injury rates of any NBA team last season, directly impacting their chances of success. If Jimmy Butler can stay healthy and perform at the level that made him one of the best players in the league, the Miami Heat can continue to be a competitive force in the East. Additionally, there is hope that Tyler Herro will finally make the leap that many have been hoping for, establishing himself as a consistent star. Another factor is the potential of Jamie Jaquez, who has shown flashes of promise early in his NBA career. If Jaquez can develop, he could become a key player for the future of the franchise. In addition, the acquisition of young Kel-El in the draft also brings expectations, as he can provide the type of contribution that helps balance the team both offensively and defensively. However, these scenarios depend on a number of uncertain factors, and Butler's future with the Heat is far from certain. In a highly competitive market like the NBA, each season brings unique challenges and opportunities, and both the Heat and the Lakers will need to make critical decisions in the coming months to determine the course of their franchises. Should Butler end up in Los Angeles, the partnership with LeBron James could form one of the most dynamic and impactful duos in the league, but this trade would have long-term implications for both sides. While the Lakers look to make the most of LeBron's final years, the Heat will need to decide whether to continue relying on their current core or start a new era with promising youngsters and draft assets. Leave your opinion, and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers, and see you next time.